Good morning. It's Sunday, March 5th. And while I was listening to radio yesterday, I heard something on the news that triggered this rant. They said that there were over 50 million people living in the United States that are sharing homes. Children living with their parents. Parents living with their children, friends living together, because rent in the United States has gone bonkers. And the price of homes have gone bonkers. And the interest rates on mortgages and other types of loans have gone bonkers. So I want to take a monthly look at the rent price trends across the United States, because they're astronomical. And 10% of the people in the United States who are renting an apartment or a house or something are on the verge of eviction. And the lower income strata in our universe can't afford the rents that they're being forced to pay. Even in low income areas, and even in low, middle income areas, the rents are way out of proportion to the salaries that these people are earning. So this is a major crisis that seems to be running through the country, but nobody is really attempting to do anything about it. I think at some point there were some rental policies that allowed suspension of rents for some reason, sort of like the tuition refund. In January 2023, the average rent in the U.S. was $1,942 a month. And that was down from $1,978 last year. But last year, the rentals went crazy. The rentals added $230 per month on average. And over those 2 years, in 2021 and 2022, rents increased by $302 a month, or 18%. So if it's down this year, that's not a big deal, because for the last 2 years prior, the U.S. population was paying a fortune for rents. Now, just to get an idea of what the rental prices are with relationship to the salaries that people make, we have to look at these numbers. 38% of the population, working population, earns $50,000 or less. And the next group, between 50 and 100, is 28%. And then from 100 to 200 is another 23%. And over 200K is 10% of the people. Now, those are individual peoples, but the average household in this country is earning about $60,000 to $70,000 a year. So rents are a huge piece of their income. And you can see by these numbers that there are many people who are living on the edge and virtually face eviction constantly. And these increases in the rent prices are not in the states that you would expect them to be in. They're in states like Florida and Mississippi and New Hampshire and North Dakota and South Dakota and Delaware and Tennessee and Alabama. New York and New Hampshire were the only states in the north that had major increases in their rental prices. So the people living in states where the income levels are low are the ones that are getting clobbered more so than in places where there are many high-income jobs. And if you break down the price increases by metropolitan areas, you're going to find out that no city in the Northeast is in the top 10 or anything like that. Raleigh, North Carolina, had a 22% price increase in their rentals. And Cleveland was at 18%, and Indianapolis at 15%, right? Nashville, 10%, Kansas City, Missouri, that is, 9%, Milwaukee, 8%, Jacksonville, Florida, 7%, but not New York, not Boston, not Washington, D.C., nothing in the Northeast was getting clobbered. So these rental increases are really happening in areas where there are lots of people who are not making a big buck. And I don't understand why that is. Except that I believe that the landlords in those areas took a look around and said this is an opportunity to make some money. So you got Tennessee, almost a 10% in the major cities in Tennessee, North Nashville and Murfreesboro and Franklin. Who ever heard of half of these towns? But the rent have gone up over 10%. And what can people do about that? There's not much they can do in defense, except they gather together. Two families living in one location to help each other survive. You know, there used to be a rule about how much you should spend on rent. And they said the rule was about 30% of your income. And I thought it was less than that. But I'll use the 30%. But I'll tell you that in New York, people are paying 68% of their salaries on rent. And in Miami, they're paying about 42% of their salaries. So that's crazy. How can you find a place if you're spending that much money? You got to be making a lot of money. The renters are getting a lot of money, and you're living on the edge, right? And there are affordability challenges that continue to affect prospective home buyers. Only 17% of the people who are looking for a home think it's a good time to buy. And why? Because they are looking at the challenges of being able to afford things going forward. The mortgage rates go up. The home prices are going up. So many home buyers are sticking to renting. And if you imagine that you're renting a place and you're spending 30 or 40% of your salary on the rent, how the heck can you ever accumulate enough money to buy a house? Right? If you want to buy a 3-bedroom house, it's going to cost you a fortune. You can't afford it. So rent is a major, major problem in this country, and I don't know what to tell you about that. And I don't know what anybody can do about that, because this is the land of the free and the home of the brave. Brave enough to live here, brave enough to be able to afford these ridiculous things, brave enough to have to move in with your in-laws, or have them move in with you. Think about that craziness. Think about what the rents are causing and how they're affecting the population of the United States. And the rates are growing faster than the home prices. Right now that's the case. Who knows what's going to happen? Although I hear that home prices are sliding down a little bit. So I look at this situation and I just say, we're a country that has so many challenges, and we'll just put this in on top of all the other challenges that we are facing. This is a low priority item. So we have to learn to live with it, learn to live with your relatives, learn to live with your friend, and hang in there. Bye.